Hi, it's Jay from Iridescent Tarot, back with some more sparkle for you. Today I am wearing this Alpha Musk waffle cone perfume, and this is just straight up waffle cone note. There's no other notes, and it smells exactly like when you go into an ice cream shop and they make their own waffle cones. So it's very, very delicious, and I would probably give it like a solid 8.5 out of 10. So for my video today, I want to start my very first tarot tag. I'm really excited about it because I don't think it's ever been done before, but it's something that we kind of talk a lot about here on TarotTube, and that is if you could only read with one tarot deck for the rest of your life, what would it be? And I know that we had years ago Katie Flowers with the hashtag only 10 decks tag, which posed the same question, but you got 10. And I think it's a very different question if you're only allowed to pick one deck. Like if you were stranded on a desert island and you were allowed to bring one deck with you and never really had the chance to read with any other deck again, what would that be? And I think that's a very different question than what is your all-time favorite tarot deck, because at least for me, my answers for those two questions would be different. And I think it would also be different to my answer of if you had to run out of the house and grab one deck, what would it be? Because then, you know, you could hopefully at some point rebuild the rest of your collection. So like top favorite, sentimental, and then like only one deck for the rest of your life, I feel like are three different things. I'm super excited to see people's answers for this. I've seen different tarot tags go around where it's like, you know, you can be casual with the prompts or you're more strict with the prompts. But for this tag, like I don't want a top 5. I don't want a top 3. Like I want your one deck. Like I want to know the one and only deck. The small caveat I will give you is that you can include your runner-up deck, but it has to be with the focus on why it wasn't chosen as the number one deck. So it can't be like this and this one. It has to be, this is the one, this is what I might have chosen, but these are the reasons why it didn't get selected. Yeah, I just really want to see what the number one selections are. I think it's really hard to answer that, and at least for me, it does impact the way that I look at my deck collection, because these top favorites that we have, like, they're our favorites for a reason, and as we go down the list of things that we're less and less connected to, I find fewer and fewer reasons to keep them. And even though I like having the variety in my collection, like if it came down to it, what is the deck that I would choose to read with? And so for me, my answer to that question is the Majestic Earth Tarot. This is a deck that haunted me in my dreams. I would go to sleep at night thinking about this deck. I would wake up thinking about this deck. It would not leave me alone until I had it in my hands. And once I did, I just haven't put it down since. This, even though it is so majestic and grand and vast, it's something that I feel comfortable reading with on a daily basis because of the clarity and the connection that I have with it. I really appreciate intelligently, thoughtfully created, crafted, curated decks, and when you can tell that the person who put the images together really knew what they were doing in not just the art world, but also the world of tarot. And I think that it can be a difficult balance to find. And JD Hildegard Hinkle has that like magic touch much in the same way that Lennox Reese has that magic touch. If I were to be stuck having to look at the same images over and over again, these are the images that I would want to look at. They're so expansive and there's so much to see and learn every single time you pull one of these cards. You can pull one card and it's enough to delve into, to path work into. Like you can put yourself into the position of the really small people in the card and like look at the world from their eyes. It's just got like such a distinct point of view, and it's also not so busy and overwhelming that when I lay out multiple cards, I'm not overwhelmed by what's coming through on the cards either. somehow it just strikes this balance between everything. It's both masculine and feminine. It's both like earthly and greater than the earth. It balances the way that you can look at the paintings and think about the meaning between the image and the title. And then like you can also feel what's going on. So it balances like thoughts and feelings. The keywords that are on the titles are expansive and don't limit me to any one particular interpretation of the card. And they are words that sometimes I might have automatically associated with the card, and other times they are like different and help me go in new directions with the way that I'm reading the cards. The guidebook is succinct and poetic and really helps link the connection between the paintings and the tarot. I could just wax poetic about this deck, and it is such a shame that it's out of print. I think that so many people deserve to get to experience in their collection, and truly, if I could only read with one deck for the rest of my life, this would be it. Like, look at these images. They're just unbelievably gorgeous, and I feel very lucky and grateful and appreciative that I have this deck in my life. And there's just something about it that for me right now, if I had to pick a soul deck, like this is it. I connect with this deck so deeply and intensely. So that's my answer to my question. Now, I won't be stingy. I will give you my runner-up choice and tell you why it didn't make it into that #1 spot of the deck that I would read with for the rest of my life. And if you spent time on my channel, you know that my Playful Heart is the deck that I would associate most with my personality. Like, I see myself in these images. And while it would break my heart to not have this deck any longer, and I truly love the artwork, the messages, everything about this deck. Like, there's not one thing, well, other than the 10 of Swords, that I would change about this deck. But the reason that Majestic Earth made it and this one didn't is there's just a regalness, a more adult point of view that Majestic Earth offers, that if I could only have one deck, I would want that point of view over having this more playful point of view. Even though I think, like, I don't save this deck for inner child work or anything like that. I use it for everything, and I think it excels at everything. But it's just that more distinguished adult point of view from Majestic Earth that I think that I would want if I could only have one deck for the rest of my life. If I could only have one Oracle deck for the rest of my life, I would choose the Spread Machine Oracle. There are a few different ways that I use this Oracle. Most of the time, what I do is I flip through the cards and I look for specific words that resonate with what I'm wanting to know in my tarot spread. So for example, if I wanted to do a spread about goals, productivity, and habits, let's talk about habits. Like, I would flip through the deck and think about, like, if there's a specific habit that I want to work on, like, what do I need to commit to in regards to this habit? What is the purpose of bringing this habit into my life? What do I need to surrender in regards to this habit? And so that's how I would pull these cards. And then I would pull my cards so that I could use the words on the Oracle as spread positions for my tarot reading. And that works nicely because there are 5 different categories in this Oracle, and they're labeled at the bottom. So the pink cards are the focus areas. So, you know, any of the ones that look like this, you can use as kind of like headers for the umbrella of topic of what you're doing. And then there's shadow work cards, seeker cards, expansion, success, and boundary cards. Another way that I use this is just by shuffling and randomly seeing what cards pop out. So rather than using it with intention and specifically drawing cards, I will just randomly shuffle, see what pops out and what cards want to be the spread positions. The last way that I can use this deck, which is how I use it least often, but just using these words as actual oracle cards and not as spread positions. So maybe you just shuffle and pull these 3 cards and you're like, okay, what's my message from these cards? In the area of selfhood, identity, introspection, I need to work on balance and like supporting myself through achieving this balance. And you can just use them as regular oracle cards. So yeah, if I could choose one oracle deck to go to my desert island, this would be the one. I think it's just super versatile and basically acts as a booster pack to my tarot deck because it can function as a spread deck and then also as an oracle on its own merits. My runner-up for this question is the Reclaim Oracle, and this is an oracle that basically has one keyword on each card, and typically they're about an emotion or a feeling. And I've just found that when you need the Reclaim Oracle, there's like really no other oracle deck that would do. And in the same way that I would be remiss to not have Playful Heart in my collection, I would feel a big loss not having this deck. I guess the reason why it would be a runner-up is because if it came down to it and I could only have one deck, I would choose Spread Crafters, but then like I would find a way to like incorporate what I've learned from this deck. But ultimately I just think that Spread Machine is more versatile, and it's just a more all-rounder. So yeah, I know that I'm asking for the near impossible, and where we've all had difficulties like paring down our top 5, top 10 in the past. Like, I want to go to the ultimate, and I want your top 1 deck of what you would choose if you could only have one deck for the rest of your life. I think it can just tell you a lot, and it's super interesting, and it is a difficult question, and I think it's fun to answer. So please do a video response and hashtag only one deck. I'm really excited to see what everybody has to say. And if you don't make videos, just comment below with your hashtag only one deck. So tell me your tarot, your oracle, and then if you want to share your runners up, that's fine. But please no top 3, whatever. Like, I want the one. I want to know. All right, I will talk to you later. Signing out.